Welcome to the Legion Outriders podcast, a member of the Radio Free Tattooing Network.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
Your source for the latest Legion news, opinion, and analysis.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
John Archiquette.
Will somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way?
Matt Turner.
I'm not afraid.
And Joshua Gray.
You will be.
You're locked into the Legion Outrider podcast here from the Hive of Scum and Villainy in Las Vegas, Nevada. Power 9 Games, John, Josh, and Matt. What's going on, guys?
Hey.
I'm back.
Yay! We got all of us back together in the same room for the first time.
That's true. Like, first time in 3 weeks.
Yeah,
We're all actually here together. Josh is back from his...
Yeah, I'll say this. I'd have much rather been where you were a couple weeks ago than where I was last week because...
Was it that fun?
Oh, it was a school board meeting, bro. I mean, yeah, 5 hours of
the third
elected
ring
officials.
of
Yes.
Yeah.
So it wasn't Disney Star Wars.
God, no. No.
Well, if you wanted to replicate the experience, you could have just had a people stand against the wall and just formed a line and just stayed there for like an hour and a half. And there you go. Happiest place on earth.
Well, luckily for you, it's almost like FFG knew that you weren't going to be there, so they decided to not drop the big news until right after we recorded the show. So
yeah.
For those of you guys who downloaded our show last week and Friday morning and all of a sudden noticed that we weren't talking about the big pressing news of the day,
right?
It's because we recorded Thursday night and they dropped the news first thing Friday morning.
I like FFG for the next 5 minutes. So
Yay! Okay, let's get everything we can in on the FFG.
So we got a lot of really good things to go over today. We're going to talk about the big news drop that they had last week, the slightly smaller news drop they had this week, and I mean, we got Boba Fett. That's basically all it boils down to. We got rules for Boba Fett.
Yeah, well, we also have some news that they ain't talking about that we're going to talk about, but that's kind of big about the future of FFG products too. So.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we'll definitely get into that too. But I mean, first thing, of course, I'm sure that everyone's waiting to hear is the masked mercenary who's causing all kinds of havoc, and I'm not talking about Marc-Andre Fleury for once.
Deadpool.
Not Deadpool.
Oh.
No.
I'm going to see that tonight.
Oh, it's all right.
Yeah, just
tonight,
tonight.
yeah.
But there's also other Star Wars news lurking about in the weeds.
Yeah.
Well, let's postpone our... I'm just champing at the bit to go
talk
about
right?
Boba Fett.
Wanna go.
All right. What do we got for Star Wars news right now, Matt?
Not much. No. So, obviously, Solo is just about a week away from coming out. Very exciting there. Some good news out of... we talked a couple weeks ago how they were going to be premiering or previewing it, screening it at the Cannes Film Festival. Yeah. And apparently they had quite a reception. There was reports of 4 minutes of standing ovation for the cast and crew that showed up, including the director. So there's actually some video out on there. So not just a PR thing, but apparently people appreciated it. So that's really cool for them. They also announced that we know Star Wars Celebration 2019. They're skipping this year, so going to 19. Going to be in Chicago, April 11th through 15th. Tickets go on sale, I think, early June. I'm going to be trying to get my tickets because I want to go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Outriders remote.
Hey, I'm down for it.
Well, now it's close to my neck of the woods.
We'll be the guys trying to play Legion in a corner while everybody else is getting autographs with Mark Hamill. But other than that, also some interesting news. This hit my radar last week, but I think it's pretty much official now. Asmodee North America is looking for buyers.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what is the relationship between Asmodee North America and Fantasy Flight?
So my understanding is it was ostensibly they're a partnership, but Asmodee handles all the distribution and things like that. They pretty much let Fantasy Flight alone. But when you're talking about companies shopping around with Hasbro is the big one that have been talked about. I guess Lego is in the mix as well, which would be really interesting. But I mean, just looking at Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, there's definitely some changes that can happen from having a larger parent company.
This concerns me.
I'm not even
absolutely.
Everybody
not
should
gonna,
be concerned. Yeah.
I mean, I've been burned and screwed over enough by EA and a couple of other game companies that go and suck up smaller studios, and then 5 years later they don't exist. regardless of what the track record of that company is. So to see that Asmodee, who is just really kind of finding their footing with Fantasy Flight and getting things moving in a really good direction, to see that they're up for sale now, and that you may have a big conglomerate that doesn't care about gamers. Asmodee,
For sure.
they're a game company, right? Even for as big as they are, that's their thing, games.
Yeah.
Hasbro's a game company in name only, because they're this giant conglomerate that doesn't, they're line items on a spreadsheet, not things that you actually care about.
Yeah.
And the more you get separated from the people with the passion to the people who just care about shareholder prices, you see there's a definite difference in the quality of product, customer service, things like that.
Well, money hasn't changed hands yet, so hopefully the sky isn't quite falling yet. But
Sure.
Yeah.
just definitely something to keep in mind or keep an eye on in the future.
Yeah,
I
and it's
think.
something that people definitely need to know.
Sure.
People need to know what's going on with the companies that make these games. So
For sure. And with tabletop gaming, miniature gaming in general, there's certain profitability issues that a lot of other larger companies that aren't as involved with gaming probably wouldn't appreciate. And I think you saw that a little bit with GW when they had their last CEO, who was more of a numbers guy, not a gamers guy. And I think since they switched about 2 years ago, I think it's swung back a little bit in that direction.
Yeah.
So their profits have actually gone up, but it also has increased in the actual relationship they have with their customer.
But I mean, let's be honest. Tabletop gaming is an extreme niche market.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
any time that extreme niche markets get bought up by these large corporations, whenever it comes time to start losing properties that maybe not be profitable or are profitable, but you need to cut staff somewhere, it's always the extreme niche markets that go first.
It's at least it's not Disney though. Much as I love Disney,
Yeah.
their port of call, their modus operandi, I guess, would be buy the studio and then cease production on whatever they're doing and start over fresh. So,
Well, I feel like one thing that may kind of keep us, in particular as being Star Wars fans, keep us kind of safe is the fact that it is a Star Wars brand. This isn't some, small Rune Wars. If I was a Rune Wars fan, I might be a little bit concerned because
Sure.
let's face it, outside, if you were, trying to impress the board of directors with the new Rune Wars expansion, people are like, what? Star Wars, you may have a better opportunity to cross over into larger markets.
yeah.
So.
But anyways, that's pretty much it for the news. Hopefully next week everybody will get to go see Solo and it'll be smashing and everybody will love it.
You guys better, keep the
You want to
spoilers
go see
away.
it Thursday night next
I
week?
can't. I'm flying.
Oh, that's right.
I'm
You're
flying up
leaving.
to Calgary. Yeah, so I won't be here
I
next
knew that.
Thursday.
I just wanted to act like
I'm gonna ruin the movie for you, but I'm pretty sure Han ends up with the Falcon by the end of it.
What?
Yes. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to ruin it for you.
They actually spoiled that, apparently. There was a little VR thing they did on People Magazine. Our friends over at Radio Free Tatooine were talking about this, where they actually show the scene with Han and Lando playing for the Falcon. So,
Oh, really?
Really?
yeah.
That's cool.
Pablo Hidalgo, who is the head of the Lucasfilm Story Group, did a tour of the interior of the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw this. This just came out today. But there's a part in, Lando's bedroom where he has all of his treasures, right? And trophies. And one of them's a pod racer.
Oh,
One of them's a model of the Falcon.
nice.
The third one all the way on the bottom is a model of Cloud City.
Really?
Wow.
Really?
Hmm.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah. So.
He had designs on,
yeah.
was it Tabana gas mining?
I
Yeah.
wonder if he had, any kind of connection to the, to the city before he ever.
Then he's got a silhouette of
being the governor.
Lobot on the side of the wall there.
So either way, I'm gonna, be very excited to see the movie when I can, but, keep the spoilers to yourselves.
Yes, please do. But anyway, so Boba Fett.
Boba
Fett?
Boba
Where?
Fett. So this week, or this past Friday, in case you, were living under a rock or something, Boba Fett and the Scout Troopers were released. Now, before we get into the specifics about the unit,
Not released, but at least
sorry,
previewed.
Announced.
Yeah, announced. Yes.
Yeah.
So we speculated, a few of our previous episodes about what would be the Imperial counterpart. We all said that Scout Troopers.
Scout Troopers, of course, because that's the logical counterpart.
Yeah,
They're mining all of the 3 original movies, so you're not getting Death Troopers yet because they're not done releasing units from the original movies, right? You're not getting Krennic, you're not getting anything Callus or Tarkin. Well, maybe Tarkin, but because he's in 4. But you're not getting any of those guys that aren't in episodes 4, 5, and 6 yet. That's specifically where they're focused right now. So
hopefully that means we're reaching the end of the list of stuff, and we can start going into some of the other properties to start.
Well, I think they're done with the obvious choices.
Yeah.
I mean, that you may see them, start throwing out
New
stuff
wave
like
announced: Jabba's
D-bags.
sail barge.
It could be. I mean, maybe not that actual vehicle, but you might see like some of the little skiffs and stuff.
And you know what? If you're announcing a scum faction, Jabba's Pirates is not a bad thing. I mean,
no. To start with, sure.
Yeah. To start with, I mean, because there's probably 800 points of dudes on that sail barge.
Yeah,
and, some swoop riders and maybe a rancor. And then Weequay pirates.
Deveronians,
Deveronians assembled dudes that are just, underhanded
I think that's still
dudes.
maybe at least a year or 2 away, though.
Probably, but if you're going to do
I'm sure that's exactly what
faction expansion, Jabba's Palace is the place to start.
Yeah.
Okay, but before we get too far, into speculating on the future, let's look at what we have tangible right now. So
why can't you just be happy with what we've got,
right?
Josh?
I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
So,
always looking to the future, you are.
So with the Boba Fett release, I think one of the biggest surprises was we saw a new slot. So,
boom. Here we are, like 3 months into the release, and we've got an entirely new slot already.
Yep. So we got the Operative slot.
Yeah.
So it's not a commander, but it's not it's not a special forces thing. It's actually a character that runs solo and can still have command cards.
The interesting thing about that is, from everything that I've seen up until now, the rules state you can have 2 operative slots in your army. So obviously they have plans for more of these.
Yeah,
which
Boba
is,
Fett and Django. The father-son combo that everybody's been waiting for.
Yes. Yeah, that one. That's exactly what I can't wait.
Yeah.
So with Boba Fett, you see that he actually has 3 command cards with him. Now, 2 of them are not quite visible. You see one has 1 pip, and then the other one's on face down. But there's actually a 2-pip card called the ZX Flame Projector, which is a
flamethrower.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it says that you can only issue the order to Boba Fett. And it says during Boba Fett's activation, he gains the following weapons, which is a range 1 blast, spray, red die, attack dice. So that's pretty awesome.
A red die flamethrower on a unit that surges to crits. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of focused hate right there.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah,
that drastically changes how if you run a 2-commander list and you include Boba Fett, now you've got a crazy amount of selection for your command cards.
And let's not forget, Boba Fett comes with Arsenal 2. So, he has 2 other weapons there that he can run.
Yep.
So he can spray you with the flamethrower and then hit you with 1 of 2 black die attacks also, which does not suck.
No, not at all.
Watch out for those wrist rockets.
Right?
So yeah, in other words, just kind of going into his specifics that he has for his weapons. So he's got the wrist rocket, which is range 1 to 2, 2 black die, and it's impact 1. So it gives you a decent amount of anti-vehicle option. You've got his E3 carbine, which is better than the Stormtrooper one. It's got range 1 to 3, 2 black die, and pierce 1. And then if you got him in close combat, he's not too shabby. 2 red dice. So that's nothing to shrug your shoulders at.
Yeah.
And then where he really kind of makes his points worth it is the number of skills that he has on his card.
And his mobility. His mobility is insane. Jump 2 moves at a speed 3. There is literally no place on the battlefield with most terrain that we've seen to this point that he can't get to.
Yeah.
You can jump him up onto something height 2, and he's up there.
That's a foot off the
It
table.
is, yeah.
Yep.
That's huge.
That's big.
Yeah,
that's
so-
huge.
He's moving pretty much at will anywhere he wants to go. Range 3, like you said, jump 2. His arsenal, like you mentioned, that gives him the ability to fire multiple weapons. But
We're seeing so many new things with this card. Not as only just the new
Yep.
slot, the bounty skill you were
Exactly,
gushing
yep.
about earlier.
Yeah,
Josh.
well, not necessarily gushing about, but just
Gushing.
gushing. I'm so
Yeah.
happy about bounties. I can't wait to put a bounty on someone. No,
I know you can.
no, it's just it's interesting because of the wording on the ability. Because it says after setup, put a victory token on an enemy commander, and then if you kill that commander, you get the victory point. What's interesting about that is in Fantasy Flight games past, you on a card always refers to that character.
Yeah. It says specifically move that token to you. So
you.
It would sit on Boba Fett.
It would sit on Boba Fett.
Yeah.
So, well, if Boba Fett dies, does he keep the bounty? Do you still get that victory point at the end of the game? There's
would
a lot
say
of
no,
there's a lot of mechanics in there and
Yeah.
a lot of flex in there on how this is actually going to play.
Yeah.
But what this isn't is put a victory token on Luke Skywalker, and then if your DLT stormtroopers kill Luke Skywalker, you get a victory point.
Yeah.
This you were talking about. This opens up so many play styles. This encourages you to go after other commanders with your operative units, which is awesome. Because we've seen, Luke Skywalker's kind of a Jedi hunter, and Darth Vader goes after characters, but that's situational with the game. If Luke has a chance to go in and start mowing down troopers, because Darth Vader's all the way across the board, he's not trucking across the board to go get Vader at the expense of those troopers. Boba Fett's best utility comes in with killing enemy commanders.
Yep.
So it's going to be awesome to see that.
And he's got other things that assist in that. I mean, he's got, well, first of all, he crits for both, or he surges for both a critical hit, which is great if you're firing at enemy commanders. He's got the block for his defensive surge, so that's always great. And then he comes with an upgrade called Hunter. And for 6 points, it allows you to basically, when attacking a wounded trooper unit, which has been every commander we've seen so far, during the roll attack dice step, you may gain 1 aim token. So he gets a free aim when he's attacking somebody wounded.
Right, and here's the interesting thing about that, because of the way that works in the timing of attacks. Because you're getting it during that phase, you can then use it on that attack.
Yeah.
Which, I've seen a lot of people are saying, like, oh, with Arsenal, I can attack this guy and then get a name token and use it when I shoot these other people who are across the board or whatever. It doesn't need to work that way. You can use this aim token to re-roll dice on that attack, which is awesome.
Sure. Yeah. That's one
as
great
long as
way
you
to use
fulfill
it.
the requirements. Yeah.
Yeah, so he has a lot of flexibility to make him even more powerful in trying to assassinate a commander, which, I mean, let's face it, it's Boba Fett. He's a bounty hunter. That's what he's supposed to do.
Sure. One of the interesting things is we do, linked down in the article, you can see the 1-pip command card, which is the whipcord launcher. And the art for this is Boba Fett when he's got Luke Skywalker on the sail barge, all constrained after he shot the little...
When we learned the whipcord was a thing.
Exactly. He whips it. He whips it good.
Real good.
Real good, yeah. So the card reads, Boba Fett can perform moves while engaged with a unit that has 1 or more immobilized tokens. Now, that's a new token that we haven't seen that comes with this expansion.
It's like a red ion kind of looking one.
It looks like an ion token, but I'm guessing because it's immobilized, it means whatever unit that's on can't move. Which you get, you play Son of Skywalker, I play my whipcord launcher, I just won the roll, and now you can't go anywhere. Oops, sorry.
DL44 much?
Yeah, right. But it also hands out 2 suppression. Well, so during Boba Fett's activation, he gains a free action. Choose an enemy trooper unit at range 1 and in line of sight. It gains 2 immobilized tokens and 2 suppression tokens. So basically what you can do is if you're engaged, say you're in base to base with Luke from a previous turn, win the roll, whipcord launcher him, free action. He now has suppression tokens. You can move away and then attack him.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And he's suppressed with 2 immobilized tokens, or with 2 suppression tokens on top of that. So now you're in a situation where if that attack hits, now he has 3 suppression tokens, and he is now limited to 1 action. So now he can't. If you back away from him and attack and push a
I'll
hit
need you to
through,
write all of that down for
I know,
me,
right?
A step-by-step checklist, because
there will be a tutorial. Don't worry.
It's definitely situational.
It is, sure it is.
But in those
But
situations,
it's
it
awesome.
can be a very great tool.
Yeah, it's an anti-melee, get me out of here kind of thing.
what do you think about his 5 health?
Low,
Yeah,
but
necessary.
yeah. I mean, he got dumped down the Sarlacc.
Yeah.
He's not exactly known for being real tanky. Low, but when you think about going and attacking commanders, they all have Pierce, right? Yeah. And with the invulnerable, is it called? Or
impervious.
Impervious.
Yeah.
With the impervious, he's going to be going up against things that are trying that have Pierce. So for him to be able to have a chance to negate that and roll over that is a good thing.
Yeah.
So he gets a little bit more. He gets more armor, more ability to live against things that are commander units. Doesn't help them against that Z6 rotary.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude. But yeah, I mean, I think it's low. But what does Veers have? 6. Leia has 5. I think
Leia's 5.
I'm not sure. So it's not necessarily out of line. I mean, Luke has 6. So 5 health isn't necessarily out of line with what the other folks have.
And he's also throwing red dice.
He's throwing red
and
dice.
he's surging for
surging
block.
for block.
The
So,
surges are huge.
so essentially, he's got Space Marine saves. He's rolling a
Sure.
3 up to save.
Absolutely, yeah. He's a Space Marine. No, he's playing tanky. He's good.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And like you said, with Impervious combined, he's definitely got the defensive.
I'm really
clout.
happy that they have a halfway thing for piercing instead of just either you're taking full penalties of pierce or you're completely immune to it.
Mm-hmm.
I love this special rule, and I really hope that they do that instead of just having the on-off switch.
I agree with you. Yep. What do you think of his price point?
140 to start.
He's 140 base, and then of course if you want to throw on some of the extras like Hunter, we mentioned, that's another 6 points.
It's a big cost.
It
I
is.
mean, 140 points is 3 extra trooper upgraded stormtrooper squads.
Yeah.
That's not insignificant.
Nope.
He's not cheap, but what you get out of him, I think, is going to be really good.
You should be able to keep him fairly protected, I think, too, to protect your investment. And just being able to jump from cover to cover and with impervious and then surging for all that stuff. You should be able to limit the amount of incoming fire he's taking. If you're just running him out there and exposing him like I do with Vader, then he's probably going to get shot off the table. But
Well, and he's certainly not. I would say his role is to not be the center point of your army.
Sure.
He's the guy working on the fringes and just taking, opportunistic shots off at people and trying to close in on his prey.
Exactly, and I feel like that's probably a good counterpoint to Han, because Han kind of has that same role too when you look at it. So I feel like it's we were speculating on who's going to be the Imperial counterpart for Han. Well, I think this is a good fit.
Yeah.
And the one thing that we don't know about this is, does he still get the morale bubble? Yeah, he's not a commander, but seeing Boba Fett bounding across the battlefield, pot-shotting commanders would be pretty inspiring to me.
Yeah.
So
I have to go check the rules. See what it says exactly.
And they haven't announced that yet. They haven't said whether operatives, if trooper units within, and maybe it's a smaller bubble, maybe it's range 2, or even range 1. But does he have the ability to inspire trooper units around him?
My guess would be no.
Yeah, I think
I would think
that
no,
specifically
probably
says it's a
too.
commander ability.
Yeah.
So since he's not that, but I mean, having the 3 in there means he's going to be fully functional a lot longer.
Now, what are your thoughts on the model?
I like it.
You like it?
Yeah.
Looks very dynamic.
Yeah.
I dig it.
It is a dynamic pose. I don't like the clear base stem attachment to me, and this is just a personal thing, but I don't like having any kind of like suspension device to try to, I think it's just kind of.
But he's flying, dog.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
His backpack's got jets.
I would almost rather like pin him to the base with like just his toe, so it looks like he's. I'm not a huge
Ain't nothing
fan.
stopping you from doing that.
That's what I'm thinking I might do with it, but.
Well, I mean,
or you've got an extra Luke figure. You could probably like have him stepping on his head as he comes down. That would be
That's not bad.
fantastic.
I also assure you that FFG didn't go and design a single unit base with a flying stick for just one person.
ARC troopers confirmed.
Yep, yeah, there's some kind of jump pack troopers or something like that are probably not that far.
I'm sure they're in the works.
Especially
Hang glider Ewoks.
Oh boy!
Hang glider Ewoks, calling it right now.
go get my coffee.
Do you smell deep, rich Ewokian?
Calf. It's
Calf.
Ewokian calf.
Go get my calf. Sorry.
That's the right word, Ewokian. I don't know. We're going with it. Okay, Boba Fett.
Awesome.
We're excited.
Awesome.
I'm definitely giving it a thumbs up.
Yeah.
I've been kind of slacking on my interest in Imperial stuff lately. I haven't even picked up Veers or Snowtroopers because I also have not played a game with the Imperials yet. But I'm going to pick up Boba Fett.
Before we move on to the other awesome thing, so who's the rebel operative going to be?
Chewie.
You think so?
It's got to be Chewie or Lando.
Yeah. I think Lando might be good, but would be
Chewie
cool.
or Lando. I could definitely see that, especially with Solo being fresh on everyone's minds. I feel like one of those two.
We still haven't seen an Imperial third commander, and I'm sure we're going to get it, right? Huh?
Thrawn.
Nah, see, I don't think.
Are we
I don't think
circling
Thrawn,
back?
But
No, we already decided that wasn't going to be it.
if Chewie's coming out, if they're going to announce another unit of rebels to go with him, the one thing the game doesn't have, one is what we mentioned earlier, jump infantry, right? We also don't have an exclusive melee unit yet, which is kind of a hallmark of kind of games like this, right? We don't have our Terminators analog from 40K.
So you mean regular Terminators or
Assault Terminators? Sorry, we don't have our Assault Terminators analog yet. Our melee heavy hitters. For Rebels, it's obvious. I think the natural choice is Wookiees.
Yeah.
Right. Something that's going to get in close and rip you apart.
That was one of my early speculations for
the Imperials. I think it's going to be Imperial Guard, Royal Guards.
Yeah,
the red dudes. I think with the force pikes. So, I mean, who's going to be the rebel or the Imperial commander that goes with them?
Palpatine. I feel like that's got to be the obvious choice.
Is
350 points.
It might be, yeah.
Is Palpatine getting involved in a skirmish level thing?
Well, there was
as a leader of troops.
What is it? Kane Somos or something? There's like a named guardsman that is what? You look so angry right now, Josh. What did I say?
I do not want to see anything from FFG source books or Imperial Assault when there's still plenty of good normal.
Well, I mean, he had a long-standing. Well, okay, I may not be remembering the right guy, but I
think
know
it's
there
Agent
was
Blaze that you're talking about, who's the ISB agent in Imperial Assault.
No. This was a Imperial Guardsman. He was like special forces dude, and he had a long-running Dark Horse Comics series.
Kyrkanos.
Yeah, okay, there, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
So somebody like that would be...
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, no, you said somebody from, I think Kane Somos was originally from
Imperial
like Age of
guys.
Rebellion, and then he got moved into...
Forgive me.
That's why you got the angry
research.
look from me, because I'm very not okay with FFG canon people being inserted
folks
into
out
the
there
game,
that,
other than
they
the
can
general
plug
whites.
in.
I think we still have plenty of other options to get into before we start tapping into other properties.
Agent Callus.
Oh man,
give me them mutton chops, man.
Yeah, 5-point upgrade.
Yeah, I think he's naturally the next commander for the Imperials, just because a lot of what we see him doing in the Rebels show is melee based with the Lasan bowstaff.
Yep.
So he would be a natural commander to work in with a melee unit.
Because the Empire doesn't have a melee commander already.
Well, I think that may shift the game, because as of the moment, we have Vader and Luke, and that's essentially it for melee. And to be honest with you, like as far as the games I've played lately since Veers has come around, there's not a lot of melee to be spoken of.
Oh, and remember, it's a bow rifle, so it does shoot too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So
you got options.
yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to take a quick break here, and we'll get back and take a look at the other unit that came out last week.
Tune in every Wednesday to Radio Free Tatooine, a Star Wars podcast that's better than some and worse than others. Take a trip to a water cooler far, far away as we bring some casual, fun conversation into the Star Wars podcasting community. Hosted by me, Sean, my sister Amy, and John. Radio Free Tatooine. We may not know what we're talking about, but we sure know how to record it. For more, visit RadioFreeTatooine.com, a proud member of the Radio Free Tatooine Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Legion Outriders podcast, a member of the Radio Free Tatooine Network, recorded on location at Power 9 Games. Whether you're looking for the latest releases from Legion, X-Wing, 40K, Magic, or any of our other extensive inventory of board and card games, head to power9games.com and use coupon code OUTRIDER10 to get 10% off your order. Plus, shipping is free on orders over $100. Now, back to the Outriders.
And we're back with Legion Outrider podcast. John, Josh, and Matt. We just got done talking about Boba Fett, and now we're going to move on to the other unit that is supposed to be coming out here. The news got released, and that is the Scout Troopers.
So awesome.
So
awesome.
We all called this one. It seemed like naturally they would be the Imperial counterpart to the Rebel Commandos, and from the looks of it, it seemed like they have a fairly similar function. They're special forces. They're not troops. They have the dual role of running them as a full unit or a heavy weapons team, I guess they're called. So what are your thoughts on it so far, Josh?
Love it. I got to talk about fleet troopers when I compare them to the scouts. Fleet troopers came out and it's like range 1 to 2 white dice per midi, and I'm like, 2 white dice, no. And then Scout Troopers come out, and it's range 1 to 2 black dice per midi. And I'm like, yeah.
Well, that's the difference between your core and your elites, I guess.
Right, yeah. So, hey, man, I'm all about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Just on offense, I'm all about that.
So they also get a defensive surge. Now, they're throwing white dice, which is a first for any of the stormtrooper, snowtrooper guys. So that's not really the best thing, but you're still getting the surge for defense. It's not too bad. But you got low profile, you got scout, and you got sharpshooter, which are the 3 same skills that you saw with the Rebel Commandos.
Yeah. I mean, they're almost identical to the Rebel Commandos in every other function that we know right now. Now, we don't know, how does a sniper rifle work, because there's a guy there with a sniper rifle. We don't know how I think it's seismic charges is what they have.
Sonic charges.
Sonic charges. Yeah. We don't know what sonic charges do. So we don't know. Obviously, they're going to have the ability to emplace things that you can detonate as an action, but we don't know how they're going to work yet. So first blush, yeah, they're cool because they throw a lot of black dice and they have a sniper rifle. Yeah. Past that, you can't really say much.
They look cool.
They look cool.
They
look
cool.
really cool.
Yep.
I can't wait to get them on the table.
I can't wait to see the amount of people that paint them up like the clone trooper scouts with the camo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think we'll see a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those I do like better than the standard cannon. I'm still probably going to paint them as the standard layout, but I do like the camouflage pattern ones we've seen. But I think that it's going to be cool because it's going to open up another way to play for the Imperials, as opposed to being sit back and fire. With the snowtroopers, I think we're starting to see a lot of the equipment, with impact grenades and the flamethrower, which is going to encourage you to kind of get them up in somebody's face.
Yep. This
is going to kind of encourage you to maybe sneak around with them, as opposed to running right up at somebody.
Right, and they do have the ability when you place it, you can do a speed 1 maneuver once you place them on the board. Mm-hmm. So with the charges, depending on your objectives, you can place them right at the edge of the deployment area, do them a speed 1, then the first turn do a speed 2, drop a charge on an objective that basically it's an area denial thing. The tactical flexibility that they bring in is going to be really cool.
It is super cool. Yeah. What do they start out? 60 points, it looks like? Mine's really blurry.
I think it said 52 points.
52?
I think that's what it was.
Well,
But I mean, you're getting a lot for 52 points.
Or 60, whichever it is.
Or whichever one.
Regardless of what it is, you're getting a lot for that cost.
It might be 60. Maybe my resolution on my phone is just terrible.
Your old man eyes are failing you.
That could be, too. As the youngest person here, it's probably a bad sign.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the picture via Braille, so.
It's going to be really interesting to see how lists get built. You know, once this push of everything that's been announced comes out, you know, because you're going to have a heavy, you know, just for Imperials, you're going to have Boba Fett, you're going to have Scout Troopers, you're going to have Snow Troopers, Stormtroopers, bikes, Vader Veers, and an ATST.
And this is where the game is going to start to get really interesting because now that you have options available,
right?
Yeah,
and it's not just choices. Like it's not just a gimme, you know. Like
right.
we've got choices now. You got Vader or Veers or both. You know, you got ATST or you got bikes, you know, or both, or you can run Trooper Heavy.
Right.
So I think there are options available, but once you start incorporating this, it's going to change the way you do your play styles as well.
Right. Well, I mean, and right now it's, you know, the and I'm going to air quote this, the meta that's kind of developed in this early stages of the game, it's trooper spam. You know, 6 core units, which for the Rebels is 6 Rebel troopers because there's nothing else out yet. Now we have snow troopers, and you know you're seeing spam of a mix of stormtroopers and that. Generally with either an ATST or some number of bikes. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, well now you've got trooper spam. So I've got 6 units of stormtroopers with, say, 3 bikes and then Veers. Okay, well now what do I start taking out of that to get Boba Fett and a unit of scout troopers on the board?
Why?
I mean, what do you take out of
from
there,
the play
right?
scenarios we've seen so far? I don't think you want to take away troopers. I don't think you want to take away core units because those seem to be what's scoring objectives, what's winning games.
Sure, but I mean, Boba Fett's a trooper. Special forces are troopers also, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you know you're not taking troopers out per se. You're just making them more specialized. But you know, how many do you take 2 units of stormtroopers out and go a unit of stormtroopers, 2 unit of snow troopers, and a special forces unit? Do you go 1 unit of snow troopers, 2 stormtroopers, and then scouts? You know,
well, that's when you want to start looking at what you want your list to do.
right?
During a game.
List building is about to get really, really interesting with this game. Yeah.
You can't just default it in there anymore.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, you know, with some of the trooper spam units that you're talking about, like it could get even more exploited now because you could get foreseeably, you know, 6 core units, and then you could also get, you know, 2 units of scout troopers.
Sure.
You know, maybe throw Veers and a
unit of bikes in there.
And
somewhere.
a unit of bikes in there, and you're golden.
Here comes the ATRT flamethrower meta we talked about so
right?
Yeah,
because we haven't really seen the that develop a whole lot yet. Although I will say with the snow troopers, I think the flamethrower is kind of making its first real, you know, presence
actually
in this game.
seeing some concerted tabletop time.
So with talking about that, like, have you seen a good amount of snow troopers on the board since they came out?
Well, yeah. I mean, and a lot of that is it's the new shiny, right?
Oh yeah.
You know,
new toys.
So everybody wants to play with the new shiny. I think we need to take a month or two, and we have no idea when these 2 units that they just announced last week are going to come out. But if history is any precedent, it's going to be a couple months at least.
Yeah.
So now, at least as far as the Imperials are concerned, we have everything that we're going to get for a while. Mm-hmm. So, you know, they just came out, 2 weeks ago? Week ago?
Yeah.
Something like that. So give them some time, let it all kind of settle down. But I think in another 2 weeks or so, we're going to see kind of what the state of Imperials, at least going forward, is going to be, just in time for Fleet Troopers to hit the board and shake it all up.
Well, I mean, we're only a week. We're only a week away from that.
Yeah,
Leia
so
and
Fleet,
you know, Leia and Fleet Troopers are just around the corner. So
it'll be interesting to see how the Imperial contingent reacts to that.
Ever in motion is the future.
Yeah, shifting.
All right, so we got a little bit more news from FFG this week after that big, news release. We saw the final, or the first real printed version of the tournament rules.
Yes.
Correct?
Finally.
About time.
We're very happy that it's here.
Yes.
We have questions.
Many questions. Some great things in there, some things that I find a little
Yeah, me and Josh were
disappointing.
chatting about it for a while before John showed up today.
What were the biggest surprises that you saw?
Not a lot of surprises, actually. We just got done running a few months ago, actually. Now the Destiny regionals here, and a lot of the FFG, high points on how you run an event. You could have copy pasted them. That's fine. You know how you have the marshals and the judges and all that kind of stuff. So it's business as usual.
And do you feel like that's worked thus far?
Yeah. No, it's reasonable. It's usually fairly clear. There was what was the thing that you were saying was that left it open? It was the bases, right?
Right.
We identified this kind of early on.
Right, and this is something we've talked about before, and it's been a big thing on some of the online forums and presences out there. But their wording isn't very clear on custom bases. A lot of people are making clear bases, which is cool. I know, John, you've got your feelings about clear bases.
Terrible.
But the shapes of the bases are not the same as the shapes of the bases that come with the game.
Yeah.
The bases that come with the game, I think they're 27 millimeters on the bottom, and then at the top they're 25. So there's a 2 millimeter bevel. 1 millimeter on each side. The clear bases are just flush-sided. Mm-hmm. So they're the same, they're perfect cylinders, so they're the same at the top as they are at the bottom. When you start putting movement templates in there, every time you put it at the front and the back, that's a 2 millimeter difference. 1 millimeter on each end of that movement template. So if you're moving a double move, you've moved 4 millimeters more across the table. Yeah. The way that it's worded in there is it says it must be the same general shape and size as the... Okay, what's the same general shape?
Bases with the same general diameter and shape as a miniature's official base. So it's got to be the shape as well.
Right. Well, I mean, define the shape? Does it have to be, if I look at that base from the side, is it a trapezoid?
Well, I mean, you've got some bases for GW that are oval shaped. Well, and if you were to put your ATST on an oval shaped base, obviously that wouldn't fly.
Sure. No, that works. But I guarantee you there's people who are going to go out there and they're going to talk to a TO and they're going to go, look, this clear base that is a cylinder is the same general shape as the official one, and the TO is going to go, yeah, okay, you can use it.
Yeah, but they do put the power in the hands of the TO or the judges in this case, and they have the final determination on whether are you modeling for advantage here? Is this close enough actually that it's not going to interfere with the game? Because I know you had an experience, Josh, where you and Sean played a game and it did come down to millimeters.
Yeah,
I don't see the big deal, but then again, my experience is not the same as yours.
And it's going to depend on where you're playing it at.
Sure. I wouldn't rock up to like a Adepticon with these and it's like, I made these at home.
Yeah.
Right.
Is this good?
But I mean,
sorry, man, you spent hundreds of dollars to waste your time.
But there's going to be people out there that do that, and I think.
Smart.
And we talked about this before. It's like, hey, I'm going to wait until the official tournament rules come out to see what the thing is. But Alex Davies also come out with an email that said, hey, it's a hobby game. Do what you want, right? Okay, well, now that's kind of some mixed messaging there.
So this actually comes up under the component modifications. There's the second bullet down there. It says, players cannot modify minis or use bases to significantly alter their size, height, or shape. Marshal is responsible for determining the legality of any miniature modifications.
But what that does is now that puts every TO, you're going to get a different ruling.
Well, I'm hoping people will see this and okay, I'm just not going to futz with it and try to do other than exact replica. I know these are the exact same dimensions. They'll probably just play with the bases that come with it.
From what I've seen in the last couple of days, looking at Reddit, Discord, Facebook, all of the Facebook groups that are out there, people are reading that exactly how they want to read it.
Okay, well,
because I've seen a bunch of people that are going, oh, great, clear bases are legal.
Okay, well then second bullet, the third bullet, right below it, players may modify or replace individual bases, but the modified or new base must work with official movement tools. So if it doesn't work by fitting in there snugly, I would say no.
Yeah. Well, and I think that is going to mostly apply to vehicles. like where you've got the
Yeah,
actual.
you need to have your
yeah,
arcs
yeah.
on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, well, define must work with the tool. Well, if it fits the top, and that's what I put in, because when it's beveled, you can't see underneath the movement tool to see if the bottom of the base is flush
Sure, you
with the
can
bottom
pick it
of
up
it.
and futz with it in your hand.
But the movement
Right.
tool isn't beveled.
Yes, it is. Absolutely,
The movement tool is beveled.
Yep. Look at it
on both sides.
Yep. Look at it.
Okay.
It sure
Well, I
is.
stand corrected.
Yeah. So a flush-sided.
He's had lots of time to obsess over this.
Okay.
Yes. You remember, I wasn't here last week.
Yeah.
I was.
This is
I was
what he spent
studying
6
the
days doing.
beveling.
I was at work, but I was actually, looking at the movement tool.
That's a 5-degree slope on that.
It is. Yeah. Actually, it's like 1.5, but that's
Oh,
okay.
okay.
No, I haven't measured that.
Imperceptible. Got
Yeah.
it.
But yeah, I mean, it most certainly is beveled, and again, it's the TOs. That's the same. That works. It fits in there at the top, so it works. I would have liked to have seen FFG come out with a more definitive stance, one way or the other, right? And tell me, what's the same general shape? Define that, please, because you can get any number of people around a table and say, hey, this has to have the same general shape as this. And you'll get 12 people around a table, and you got 12 different opinions as to what a general shape is. It would have been nice if they had said, for tournament play, only FFG products. Wouldn't have hurt them.
So actually,
Yeah.
there
Wouldn't have killed
was
them.
something in here under legal products. Please keep. I'll get you the exact.
And
wording
there's something
here.
in there under modifications that says,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, under the fudge rules. What I'm not getting.
Oh, the margin of error.
Margin of error. Thank
Yeah,
you. Jeez. Under margin of error, it says to minimize margin of error, official products should be used.
Yes.
But again, that's not a definitive directive answer, right?
I think they want to give you that room that you can be creative with your hobbying, though, and just not outright disallowing you from participating in a major event because you got creative.
Okay, but when do they define for a major event what you can and can't use?
Well, then that's up to the judges. I think that if you have something that's questionable, you contact somebody ahead of time, send some pictures.
Sure,
like, hey,
and
here's
you can
how it
do
meets
that.
up. Do
And
all
hopefully
that.
people will be that proactive, but there's going to be that one person that spends hundreds of dollars on custom bases and then spends a couple $1,000s going to Adepticon and shows up and they're like, dude, you can't play with that.
Well, I think at least by putting in there that it's going to leave it to human judgment. Yeah, sure, it leaves some room for human error, but it's also going to have that element of subjectivity where if somebody obviously looks like they're trying to game the system, or they're trying to model for advantage, this can give them the ability to have that judge say, no, sorry, dude, not happening.
Well, I'm not going to go as far as to say that it's outright cheating. Okay, I think that is playing for an advantage because there's a margin of error, but every time you set that template down, you're going to move farther than I am.
Yeah.
Right? So, but people who try and skirt the rules will never sit there and admit they're trying to skirt the rules.
Okay. So I found the section I was looking for. It's under component modifications. During tournament play, each player is required to use the components included in official Star Wars Legion products.
Boom.
Fair enough then.
Siegel Legal Projects, page 6, subsection B.
It's like I'm doing my taxes.
Yeah. So there are some exceptions there. Mostly it's for like third-party tokens, stuff like that. I was really happy to see
Right?
that they were okay with that because I know I like using my acrylics and most people do too. But yeah.
It's just... I find these answers vague and unconvincing. I think they could have done, because, there's multiple points that in that book that, depending on what you want, you can find a ruling in there to support
And that's why
what
they
you
leave
want.
it to whoever's, marshalling or judging to come up with the final ruling. But, if you're expecting to show up to a major event, I think you probably, hopefully, have thought this out already.
Sure, yeah.
But other than that, the tournament structure was really interesting. They definitely have the breakdown of expected number of rounds. It is the 2-hour time limit for the regular Swiss play. That's interesting. It comes down basically to tiebreakers, though, in the larger tournaments.
It does, and
so 8 players and under, 2 rounds. Past that, it's 3 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
But we were doing the math, and like for a standard event, at the end of 3 rounds, you'll have 4 undefeated.
And it's cut to 2, and it's only based off of strength of schedule.
Yeah, if you do a cut and all that kind of stuff.
Strength of schedule on its face alone has always been something that I found difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
Just because, and with anything, there's things outside of your control that are going to affect where you place, like record players, right? Yeah. But if it's a 4-round Swiss cut, and the first 2 people I play, are both 0-2 at the end of the second round, and they both drop, that tanks my strengths of schedule. And that's a thing that I had nothing to do with. Well, maybe I did because I beat them. But
and you just rubbed in their face stop playing this game, you're horrible.
But the people who drop are going to basically ensure that I don't make the cut, especially when you're doing a cut to a top 2.
And
that's hard, man.
Unfortunately,
that's really hard.
This is my call out to the community. Please play your games, especially at these, because the strength of schedule matters. I think this is definitely a sportsmanship thing. When I was playing Fantasy 8th Edition over in England, it was almost unheard of that you would drop out of a tournament because you could be unintentionally messing people's other standings up. I would love to see that kind of attitude make it into the Legion, and I think we could do that. You may not be winning, but play for the love of the game at least. Play not to just
better.
Play to get better. Play to meet other people. There's plenty of reasons to keep playing instead of just, I'm not in prizes, so I'm out.
Is this something that you see a lot in other competitive games on tournament play?
It can, especially with this format. It seems it's very Magic-like in how you do, because you go to strength of schedule for tie breaks and all that kind of thing. And people in Magic events will drop, if they're not winning, especially if it's been a long day, and that's understandable. People get sick, people have commitments that they have to go.
It's not uncommon in X-Wing to see, for a major regional event where you're playing 6 rounds, 75 minutes per round, plus all of the administrivia time in between. It's not unheard of to see people after round 2, 3, you lose maybe a total of anywhere from 10 to 15% of the players.
Yeah, it's less important there though because you're using your margin
MOV,
of victory.
Right?
Yeah.
Strength of schedule doesn't matter at all. But if you have an event and 10 to 15% of your people drop, that's a lot of people's strength of schedule that you're potentially impacting.
Yeah. If first round you beat somebody and then that person goes on to beat 2 more players, guess what? Your strength of schedule is way better.
Exactly. But if you're taking automatic losses for all those rounds that you dropped, the guy beat first round, it's a 4-round game and he's 0-4. Well, there goes my strength of schedule. He only played 1 game, but I'm the one who ends up suffering because they didn't stick around. I think there are ways that they could have tried to work MOV into it also as a factor.
Yeah.
Victory points. Victory points are a thing in the tournament structure that I love and I hate, because I love the fact that I can go and build my army a certain way, undercost it, get a 25-point bid, and now because I'm the blue player, I have some control over the battlefield because you're using the cards that I brought, not the cards that you brought.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I brought cards specifically for my army. I don't know what you're running, John, but hey, maybe these cards work for you. Maybe they really screw you over.
I didn't see any stipulations in there if they're going to add them later, but can you play with all the moisture evaporator expansions?
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Well, yeah, it just says you have to bring 4 cards.
Okay, so you can pick the 4 cards you want,
right.
assuming they have more expansions.
You build your 4 cards
Holy
out
cow,
based off of, right. So that's cool. That's awesome. But what that does when we start talking about strength of schedule and victory points is, the best way to say, hey, all 3 of us here at this table are 3-0. Who are the top 2? Well, who had the most victory points? You can't use that as a determining factor
because all the scenarios are different.
Because all the scenarios are different.
Well,
what they could have done, on one hand, I love the ability for the blue player to bring the cards, but on the other hand, what they could have done is say, okay, tournament organizer, here is for the regionals for 2018, here are the 4 scenarios that you're going to run for the 4 rounds.
I feel like that kind of standardization probably would help a lot.
It would, because now what you can do at the end of the day, the 3 of us are undefeated. We're the only 3 undefeateds left. How many victory points do you have, Matt?
2.
2. How many victory points you got, John?
17.
Well, and I've got 25. So
I mean,
John
20.
and I, we win. We make the cut, right?
Yeah.
So,
I could definitely see some, like if some player-run organizations spring up, them going to a system like that instead of just straight win-loss, that 20-0 system.
I think you'll probably see something like the Warhammer ITC
Sure.
spring up for Legion.
Be great.
See that, yeah.
I could really see that because there's just so much about those rules that it's vague.
Fun tangent. We're going to be doing Best Coast pairing for all of the events here for Legion, so people can track their results and see how horribly I'm doing in the events, and how awesome John is at rolling black dice.
Only the black dice. The white dice, I'm terrible.
I think that's everybody.
Yeah. But, I mean, overall for the document, I think there's a lot of good stuff in there, and there's some stuff in there that I think could have used a little bit more attention, considering the time they took to work on it.
It's still a 1.0.
But they don't have any experience under their belt with this particular.
They don't have us sitting there proofreading all their documents.
And they're living documents,
Yeah.
So they'll dial it in. I think they should have come down a little bit more definitively on the basis thing, just because of the fact that you've got people now that have spent hundreds of dollars on what little army materials are available as far as troop options, and they've based them all on clear bases.
They deserve it.
It would have really. I would really think it would suck for them that this comes out months after release and
half cocked.
Yeah,
I mean that's what that was.
And
I feel like we've told them for a long time.
Yeah, we've warned them. Day one.
Sure,
until this comes out.
Yeah, but I'm just
saying. Hey, if it's generally the same shape and size, they should be fine.
Yeah.
You know what the best part about those rules are, though? The best part about the tournament rules, it's got a scout trooper on the front of it. So now
it's pretty cool.
We've got 3 rules documents. It's Vader, stormtroopers, and scout troopers. Suck it, terrorists.
You know why it was scout trooper on the front, right?
Because everything for the terrorists is no good?
Because the paper it was printed on was made from a tree used to wrap a biker around.
Yeah. Actually, fun fact, this you can't really see it because it's in black and white, but this is actually Ezra Bridger's helmet that he used in the Rebel series. Yeah, he stole a scout biker helmet and was using that, so that's what that is.
I thought they were a little different. The cadet helmets are a little bit more flared.
Oh, no, he had the cadet helmet.
Oh. Wow, good job, Ezra. Right on.
Well, I think with that, we pretty much bring this episode to an end here. You guys anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, so we're going to be starting out, again, my YouTube channel, Frontier Gaming channel. We're going to be streaming out here on Friday nights. We've got some games set up for tomorrow, so we're going to be playing some Legion. So stay tuned for that. Twitch, we're going to be on there, so I'll see if Josh can fire out a little email. I think John's going to be joining us for part of it, either playing or commentating.
Yeah, I'll stop by.
Yeah. But John, you've got to raise a family, so have fun with that.
I mean, eventually I will.
Yeah.
Or Josh.
Is it your kids this time or some other ones you've collected and taken off the street?
You just called me John, by the way.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, that's okay. It's the scum of hive and villainy. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, if you want to go check out the social media stuff, where am I going, Josh?
You are going to facebook.com/Legion Outriders and then at Legion Outriders on Facebook, on Twitter. I'm also on the Legion Discord as Outriders Josh, if you want to drop me a note and tell me
I should get on there.
How much you hate my rants, which a lot of people were very vocal about.
You've been very pleasant this episode, I must say.
I know.
It's refreshing.
It's not going to happen often, but hey, I get heated about some stuff. And
that's what happens when I'm not in the room with him to just hit the shot collar.
It's because he got Boba Fett.
I know, right?
God. He got Boba Fett, and now he's happy.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for stopping by, and we'll check you out next week, Outriders. All right, folks, that's our show for this week. Just want to remind you that the Legion Outrider podcast is brought to you by the Radio Free Tatooine Network, a podcast network that's better than some and worse than others. To see the full lineup of shows, head to radiofreetatooine.com. See you next week, Outriders.
You've been listening to the Legion Outriders podcast, a member of the Radio Free Tatooine Network.
Only now.
understand.
For more from the Outriders, make sure you like us on Twitter @Legion Outriders, subscribe to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Legion Outriders, and make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast. Thanks for listening.
You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.